thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
We really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Your time, your talent, everything.
Thanks, guys.
First, how did you get into music?
Wow. So I discovered an old beat up guitar at my grandparents' house. I was in like 8th grade and didn't have strings on it, and so I just asked. I kind of sort of told them, I'm going to put strings on this thing.
Okay.
And I took it home, learned 3 chords, saw an 8th grade teacher.
Wait, can I stop you?
Yeah.
What year was this in?
Stop.
I know, but
Stop.
okay, but you said you learned 3 chords, and like nowadays you can like, there's so much stuff on the internet back in the.
Yeah.
Well,
so this was 1993. So I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
It reveals my age, and so it was one of those things where I had tried to play piano, and I just didn't. I loved it. It gave me a backbone for music. I took lessons for 3 years before that, but it just didn't. I don't know what it was. It was the sitting in one place, and I don't know. I was starting to have crushes on girls, and I don't know. I just didn't see a lot of piano guys, carrying their piano around with them, trying to sing to girls, and so it just didn't. I don't know. It wasn't as mobile or something. I don't know. So I learned 3 chords, learned a couple of Tom Petty songs, a couple of random, maybe I don't remember. It might have been like a Jackson 5. I don't remember what it was. There was a couple of Tom Petty songs, but started learning those, and then I started writing almost immediately after, figuring out that you mean you can put 3 chords to poetry and make it happen. So started doing that, and had some really awful songs for a few years, and then just kind of stayed with it and started stacking the notebooks up over a few years. And so that's kind of how I got into music. It was on accident. And for a long time, I felt kind of guilty about the whole giving up the piano thing, because my parents wanted me to play. But I think I achieved the goal, which was getting the background, getting the backbone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's how I got into it. I mean, my parents have brought me up on Beatles vinyls and Otis Redding. And,
okay.
I mean, I grew up on a good musical.
Are they musicians, or do they just love music?
My dad plays a little bit. My mom sings a little bit, but nothing crazy. My dad still plays mandolin, a little bit of guitar, sings. But he would always have us out there trying to learn harmonies still. He would try to teach us how this is where you go, this is where you go, this is where you go. And he would pick an Otis Redding song or some random Stevie Wonder song. He'd try to show me how Stevie Wonder's album, he played all the instruments on this. He did songs in the key of life. He did this. So there was so much that he taught me through just albums.
And where was this geographically? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up, I started out in Alabama, in Birmingham, Alabama. And I think then we moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, and then Charlotte, and then Raleigh again. So I grew up in the North Carolina area for most of my life. But it was interesting coming out of Alabama because I think my parents, they were coming out of just post-integration. My dad graduated high school 1971, and his senior class was the first class at his school to be integrated. And so when we moved to North Carolina, it was like a whole different world. And so I really do think when they moved here, like kind of looking back on it, they went above and beyond to make sure that I knew all the different types of artists that I probably wouldn't know from one genre or another. Right. But I mean, they made sure that I grew up on like a good mix of people. I mean, Stevie Wonder, Otis, and so it's interesting to look back on it because I didn't realize it at the time at all. But they were making sure. Yeah,
I mean, even now I recognize, like you said, Tom Petty. I don't know a single Tom Petty song.
That's okay. We got to work on that.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
okay.
I'll
songwriter.
I'll do some
Great
research. But just recognizing, the people who my parents came up on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like your version of the 80s, even if it's the same year, is different than someone else's version, just because of cultural and regional differences, because our country is so vast. It's really, I think it's really amazing, because then it means more music to learn and love.
Love it.
But so, do you read music? I love knowing that.
Oh, okay.
Because it sounds like you learned a lot more like by feeling, auditory.
When you say read music, what do you mean by read music?
All right.
Do you mean read staffs?
Yes. How about that?
Yeah. I can very, very slowly.
Okay.
In fact, I want to learn again. I really do. I promise. I used to tell my piano teacher that all the time. I promise. I really do want to learn this. I practiced it once before we got together, but whatever. I can read enough to make sense, and then I move on. But the way my brain started, I figured out my brain worked, was if I can just get beyond the way the music is structured a little bit, that I may end up focusing on the lyrics a little bit more. And that's where I spent a lot of my time. It was the lyricist in me kind of wanted to lay out the turn of phrase, lay out how to say something in a way that maybe wasn't said, or I'd never heard it said that way, or something like that. So I struggled with the insecurity of not knowing how to read music, one, but also not knowing a lot about music other than what I liked. And I've heard guys like Rick Rubin or somebody else might say, I don't know. Can you play a chord? No. Do you know anything about it? No, I don't even know how to work a soundboard, but I know what I like. And I think I resonated with that, because there was something to that. I know I like to play guitar this way or that way. I also know that the way I was brought up, or the way my circumstances, I didn't play with a band until more recently. So I spent a lot of my time strumming the guitar in such a way that it was very percussive, that I was beating on the guitar, that I would like beat up the guitar, trying to get a good rhythm out of it. And so I'm having to sometimes unlearn that a little bit when I play with the band, to allow a band to take space that I was normally taking. So I can play solo in a different way than I play with a band. So learning music in that way has been interesting as well. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah. I
mean, I think half the people I talk to do, and the other half don't. And I definitely understand, what it's like to feel like a hang up about it. But I feel like, it kind of doesn't matter. But again, I recognize when I hear people who can like jam together, because I'm like classically trained, like I live and die by my staff, but like hearing people who can just be like, oh yeah, I hear that E7 minor. I'm like, I don't know what chord you're talking about. And I can hear things, but I don't know enough about it. But
I go on feel a lot.
Yeah.
If I can feel it, I'll do it. But the other night, so I'll be playing more bluesy stuff with the band, or Americana kind of bluesy stuff. Solo, I'll play more laid back, rhythmic, whatever stuff. But I pulled up to my house the other day, and my neighbor texted me at 11 o'clock at night and said, "Hey, we're having a picking session right next door." And I go, I'm so nervous. These are, guys who like the Grateful Dead and like the whole thing. And so I'm like so nervous. What am I going to play with them? Well, they pulled out some John Prine songs, which is somewhere between the avenue of country and Americana. And even, if you listen to some of his stuff, somewhere Bob Dylan meets soul, weirdly. So you can find a way to connect with people across those highways, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I always get nervous. I always get nervous about like, hey, Kathy, what do you want me to play? Like, I'll play what I'm going to play, but like, what are you into? Just in case I, wanted to connect with you better or whatever. So yeah, connecting with people through music is kind of how I'm learning music right now.
Got it.
Yeah.
So in that vein, what does music mean to you? Like, why do you do it? Why does it matter? I know it's a really big question. You can answer it any way you want to.
Yeah. No, I think I've got just really simple answers for all that. I'm just kidding. That is a huge question. I think it has been a thread that I've pulled my entire life. My wife always talks about how if God gives us this little thread, just pull on it. And it's just okay, just to pull on that little thread to kind of see what unravels from that. And that's what I've been trying to do from the get-go, whether it's kind of halfway stealing a guitar from my grandparents' house. Okay, now I'm learning 3 chords. I feel like I'm stealing those chords almost from, and just pulling that thread. Okay, my 8th grade teacher wants to teach us how to write poetry or some kind of narrative or whatever. Okay, I'll turn that into a song. I'll figure out a way. So it's just kind of pulling on the next little thread. And so I had given up on doing music as a quote-unquote career for a decade or two. And I had played music in the church before that, played music in the occasional open mic, the occasional sharing of a song, but just kind of stocking away these songs that I didn't really know where to put them, where to spend my time. So when I lost my job in 2021 during the pandemic, it was it took me a few minutes to kind of go, maybe I'll do some music. Nah, I won't do any music. And then I was just like, what do I have to lose? I mean, I've been doing this my whole life now. I love it. Let's put some time in on the songs. Let's figure out what songs you want to keep. You know, throw some stuff at the wall, man. What does it matter? Like, why are you so scared? And so in a lot of ways, music for me through the whole process has given me this confidence that I never would have had otherwise. And it's been a thread that has gone through my entire life. It's led me to meet people that I never would have met and to relate to people that I never would have related to. Also, the idea that, I mean, in this extremely polarized world that we're in, I can listen to somebody's songs right now and know their felt need, where if they're spouting off on some, you know, Twitter tirade or X or whatever, or Instagram or whatever, I can't get their felt need. But if I know what music they're listening to, I can hear their felt need. And that is really interesting to me right now. It breaks down a whole lot of barriers. You hear that as a cliche. But that's what it's meant to me, is this opportunity to kind of pull that thread, you know. I'm going to totally mix a lot of metaphors with this, you know.
That's
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
Does that
cool.
make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
100%.
Cool.
I love that, just organically kind of sensing where you should find your path.
Yeah.
So you were off music, well, you know, like to a drug. So you were off music for like a decade. Okay, so how, I guess I'm always curious about people's day jobs if they have one. What was your journey like after high school, getting into the quote-unquote real world and getting to that period where you were like, yeah, I'm just going to take a break?
Yeah, I was building communities within churches, talking with church leaders throughout the state of North Carolina, kind of walking with them and helping them in some ways to learn how to build communities that actually were effective in serving, I guess, the community around them. So that's where I spent a lot of my time for at least 15 years. And then what I discovered was that I was hanging out with so many church leaders that I didn't know many people outside of that world anymore. I'd kind of sequestered myself. And so it allowed me, music kind of offered me an opportunity to dive into some breweries, wineries, go some places that you haven't been, be in some spaces where there are artists trying to do some things that are asking some questions, and go some places where maybe you can find some people who might actually enjoy what you're doing. So yeah, that was a really helpful step for me to take. So that's kind of out of high school. I was fumbling around for a long time. Yeah, like most of us are.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Like, what kind of projects are you working on?
Oh yeah. Okay. So my biggest struggle is staying in the present. Like I'm awful at it. I'm awful at staying in the present. I am always 6 months out to 12 months out trying to figure out what it is. And I often get my, feet out from under me because of that and bite off too much and start a new project with, money I don't have or whatever. I do those things. What I'm really trying to focus on, I put out an album called Hop on the Bandwagon in January of this year. And so my goal with 2025 is to record another album, second full-length album, and to continue that process of writing and releasing for as long as I can. That's where I find the most joy. That's where I find that my focus is best spent. So figuring out how to do albums that are more experiential, more sit down and listen to the album. That's where I'm spending my time right now, is trying to figure out how to accomplish that. That said, we're living in a world that doesn't want to pay you to do an album, doesn't want to pay you to do anything more than a single. Is the attention span is so short that it's kind of against that. Everything stacks against that. So my project life, I would really love to build my artistry around doing these little pockets of songs that mean something at this specific time. And so I think that's what I did on this past album, this album that released in January. It was a group of us in a studio locally in Winston-Salem at Electromagnetic Studio, Doug Williams. A little plug there. He's great. He did a lot of the Avett Brothers stuff. And that getting in a studio and being in a moment of time with a group of people is just kind of a magical thing. So yeah, that's what I really want to do. I want to write more. I want to do a new album. But if I don't have a project that I'm working on, I get real squirrely, and I start coming up with random junk that I don't need to be doing. I mean, I don't need to be running for office. I don't need to be writing comic books. Don't do this stuff right now. Just focus on an album, man. Like, focus, stay in your lane right now. So that's what I need to be doing.
That's awesome. So, like, do you find these pockets of songs, would you say like 3 to 4, and then how do you group them in a cohesive manner for an album?
Yeah, that's a good question. This past one, I was trying to put it together. I mean, the only litmus test was really, is it me? Is it me? Is that me? And so a lot of my time was figuring out who I'm going to be and who I am. This next one, I'm writing towards that. So the first album, I was kind of collecting songs from my past and from the past 10 years or so. And now I'm kind of going, well, now I can write songs that I know where I'm coming from, where I've been, where I'm going. So it's more of the last album was 10 or 12 songs, a couple of interludes on there, so it had 12 tracks on it. And then this album, hopefully I'll have like 10 or 12 solid songs. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I sometimes I come across albums, I think I mentioned this on the last interview, but that have like 20, 30 tracks.
Yeah, that's ambitious.
That feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe like too much.
Yeah.
I feel like 12 is solid.
Yeah, the Beatles did it. But the Beatles, they weren't even touring. They were, on they were in a studio all the time, and they even took their scratch tracks, and everybody was like, "This is genius! This is the White Album, and it's got like 20 songs on both sides, both albums, that kind of thing." And I'm like, "Dude, it's nuts!" But they're the Beatles,
right?
And there's a few other people that I could say, yeah, I'd listen to a 20-song album.
Yeah.
I mean, if Stevie Wonder put out something and he had played every song on there, I'd be like, "Dude, this is amazing." But very few,
For sure.
And I'm not being mean. I'm just saying,
yeah.
Focus. Also, I'm learning that less is more, as we all do. But even on some of my songs, whittling a song down from where one of the songs I played today, Robots, I had it at 5 or 6 minutes long, and they kept pushing. The guys around me kept going, it can be shorter. And I'm going, no, but that's a good part. That's a good part. That thing where I do it like 3 times, and I repeat the same thing like 4 times. And so when I cut those things out, it made the song better. So, yeah. And there was one song called Carolina that we played. There was a battle on how to get it down to 3 minutes and 30 seconds or something. I mean, more because it needed to be a tight song. There's other songs that can be stretched out, and they're just fine. So in the same way with an album, I don't mind an interlude or a jam session song going long. Mm-hmm. There are just certain songs in certain spaces that it needs to be tight.
So, what are you listening to right now?
Oh, that's a good question.
And also, where do you listen? Because I'm hearing that, like, I've always been on Spotify, except for, like, when I was stealing music as, like,
these are really good questions.
But people say that, like, Apple is the place with better recordings.
Yeah. That's what I hear. I mean, that's what I'm hearing too. I'm on Spotify, but I hear that Apple's better. Mm-hmm. But whatever. I mean, I don't really care that much right now. I know that'll somebody will disagree with me or whatever, but I don't really care. The artists aren't getting paid much. No matter which way you're looking at it right now, the artists aren't getting paid much. And so in the midst of trying to figure all that out, I don't think what I choose to listen to on Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, whatever, they're all nuts right now. They're all the Wild West. They're all, people pay for different things on different whatever. But as far as quality, I really love to sit with an album, a vinyl, and I like to sit for like 30, 40 minutes, just sit and absorb it. And if I'm not doing that, I still try on Spotify to listen to all the songs on an album and to absorb those songs. I'm listening to a guy named William Prince right now, an album called Reliever. Amazing, just from start to finish. Dude blows it out of the water with songwriting. Not a ton of cliche stuff in there. He's from Canada somewhere. I saw him in concert down at the Neighborhood Theater in Charlotte a few months back, and just excellent songwriting. So I'm listening to him a lot. That's good stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, you live Winston-Salem adjacent.
Yes.
And you will live there for the rest of time? For
the rest of time.
Okay.
No, I live in a neighborhood just outside of Winston-Salem, and you were kind of hunkered down in the neighborhood. Like today, I was building garden boxes to grow some vegetables. I don't know what I'm doing, have no clue how to grow vegetables, but it's comforting somehow right now, and so I'm going to try to grow some vegetables and figure out if we can eat at least one salad from the vegetables we grew in our backyard. And so I'm kind of hunkered in that little neighborhood right now. And we've been there for about 10 years. And my kids grew up there. We got a bunch of kids. And so I like being present in a space where I can get to know the people, focus a bit, and still go outside of those bounds and travel to the exterior places and kind of go, hey, I have a show over here, or I have gig over here, an event, get to know people outside of that. But at least I come back to home base.
Right.
And it may not always be in the same space. I mean, I kind of hope it is. I cried when we left the last house we were at, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go through that again. Just the memories of leaving where your kid was, or this happened, or I remember when we did that right there. Oh my gosh, we ate dinner on the floor. So I don't want to go through that again. I think it's traumatic. I don't need any more like random trauma that I offer myself.
But maybe your songwriting does.
Maybe, huh?
Maybe your songwriting does.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. That's it. But also right now in the world, I'm finding a lot of stuff to write about.
Yeah, there you go. So, what's your favorite place in Winston?
In Winston.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Food, just to be.
Yeah.
Anything.
That's a great question. I've really enjoyed a lot of places, honestly. I have lots of friends in various locations. I love hanging down at the Remedy. I love hanging there. I love going up to Renolda, the Bookhouse, those spots. Again, most of the places that I go are based on the relationships that I have and the people that I meet. And I'm starting to like this spot a whole lot more with you guys. So yeah, probably the Compound is up there number one now.
Of course, makes sense.
But I do really appreciate that question, because it helps me realize that it is about relationship. There's some cool spots in Winston. There really are. But the coolest ones to me are the ones where I know some folks that I can actually sit with and they know me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After a while, a bar is a bar is a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's who you know.
Yeah. Okay, so the last thing to wrap things up, just because it's fun.
This is scary.
Yeah, okay.
It's not that scary.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm nervous now.
So this is Lyrically Correct's, lyric trivia?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I picked some, I don't know. I
You
tried
do know.
to do my best. This is 90s, 2000 pop.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm already there.
In Man, I Feel Like a Woman.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What did Shania Twain say was the best thing about being a woman? The best thing. Okay, so I think the key here is, go ahead. You can do it. You can sing for us.
Have a good time.
Almost.
Having a good time?
The prerogative to have a little fun.
Have a little fun.
Yeah. You're in the neighborhood.
I know.
Yeah.
Have the prerogative to have a little fun. Mm-hmm. That's right?
Yeah, that's it.
She made that way more wordy than it needed to be.
Yeah, she did. But she fit it in there.
She did. I know.
Using prerogative?
Other than Bobby Brown, I've never met anybody who could do
that's a
prerogative
great point,
in a song.
That's a good throwback.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Just throwing it out there.
In
right?
I'm Yours,
Mm-hmm.
Jason Mraz said, if you look into your heart, what will you find?
Okay.
I hate to...
He found Colby Calais.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's who he looked into his heart and found.
Sure. That's
Is that how you say her name?
I think.
Calais?
Is it Calais?
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I saw her in concert, too. I made my husband
you should
go.
know this.
Yeah, I should.
I don't know. He reached in and found his prerogative.
I hate to help because I'm
Please.
not the singer.
Do you know this?
Well, I mean, I have...
you have the answers.
I mean, look into your heart. You'll find... I'm not going to do it. Love.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Right. In
This is
Chasing
getting
Pavements...
Huh?
In Chasing Pavements...
Yes.
Adele made up her mind and didn't need to do what? I made up my mind, don't need to.
Regret?
Think it over.
Dang it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Spencer. Y'all picked these before I got here.
I do my best to try to...
No, this is good.
Get a mix in there, but it's always hard to tell what people will know. I didn't know this one at all, and I still don't know what song this is, so I'm going to give you this one. What did George Michael say we have to do with the lies?
What song?
I have no clue.
Okay.
Do you guys know?
What do we have to do with the lies?
Okay.
Do you know?
All right, that makes me feel better. I was like,
What do you know,
is
Spencer?
this? No.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to give you a softball. What do the Backstreet Boys want everybody to do?
They want everybody to do?
Yeah. Everybody.
Rock your body.
Yeah, there you go. We got one in there. Good
Dang.
job. Okay. We'll call it quits on a win. Good job. Thank you so much for being
Hey,
here.
thank
Evan.
you.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, Kathy.